The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched wide like an ancient cathedral, its walls made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Representatives from 40 species sat in their assigned sections, their forms ranging from the insectoid chromians with their clicking mandibles to the floating gas clouds of the Penshari, who communicated through color changes in their misty bodies. Commander Tae-min stood at the center podium, his gray uniform crisp and clean. He was a tall man, with weathered features and calm eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind him stood 3 other humans: Ji-woo, a woman with sharp intelligence in her gaze, who served as his tactical officer; Hana, a stocky engineer with oil stains on her fingers even now; and Dae-hyun, the youngest of them, a pilot whose hands never stopped moving, as if still gripping invisible controls. The Earth delegation had come to petition for full membership in the Galactic Council. For 50 years, humans had been associate members, allowed to trade and travel but not vote on major decisions. Today would determine if that changed. An elder Penshari floated forward, its gaseous form shifting through colors from deep purple to pale yellow. Through the translation device, its voice came out as a gentle whisper. Before we vote on the human petition, there is something the younger species must understand. There is a rule in this galaxy, older than most civilizations. It is written in dead languages on abandoned stations throughout the void. It is carved into asteroids in sectors where no one goes anymore. The Penshari paused, its colors darkening. The rule is simple. Do not pursue them into the dark. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some species knew this rule. Others had never heard of it. A harsh voice cut through the whispers. Superstition. Ancient nonsense. The speaker was Kraveth, Supreme War Marshal of the Kaltharon Empire. His species had discovered faster-than-light travel only 70 years ago, making them newcomers to galactic politics. The Kalthorans were tall and powerfully built, with thick gray skin and 4 arms ending in clawed hands. They had conquered every other species on their home world before reaching the stars, and they saw the galaxy as simply a larger arena for conquest. Kraveth pointed one of his 4 arms at Tae-min. Look at them. Soft skin, weak bodies, small ships. The humans have only 15 military vessels in their entire fleet. My empire commands thousands. And you speak of rules about not pursuing them? He laughed, a sound like grinding metal. I pursue whoever I wish. Tae-min said nothing. His face remained calm, but Ji-woo noticed his jaw tighten slightly. The Penshari elder continued as if Kraveth had not spoken. The rule exists because of what came before. 12,000 years ago, there was an empire called the Karn Dominion. They controlled half the galaxy. They had weapons that could crack planets and shields that could stop stars. They encountered primitive humans in generation ships, fleeing their own world. The Catharn decided these humans would make excellent slaves. The hall had gone completely silent now. The Catharn pursued the human ships into deep space, away from civilized worlds. That was their mistake. 300 years later, the Catharn Dominion was extinct. The humans remained, and the few survivors from other species who witnessed what happened left warnings everywhere. Do not pursue the Earthlings into the dark. Kraveth snorted. Tales for children. The Catharn probably died from disease or civil war. These soft humans could not destroy an empire. Tae-min finally spoke, his voice quiet but clear. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A junior Chromian officer scuttled into the chamber, its multiple legs clicking rapidly on the floor. Emergency transmission. A human colony ship, the Soul's Promise, reports attack near the frontier zone. They are damaged and fleeing. The attacking vessels are Kaltharan ships. Kraveth finished, his voice smug. Yes. My raiders found a soft target. The ship was in contested space. It is now my prize. Tae-min turned slowly to face the war marshal. His calm expression had not changed, but something in his eyes made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. Recall your ships, Tae-min said softly. I think not. My fleet is already in pursuit. The colony ship has fled into the Void Nebula. My 200 warships will drag it out and claim everything aboard. The Penshari elders' colors flashed bright red, a sign of alarm in their species. War Marshal, you must stop this. You do not understand what you are doing. I understand perfectly. I am claiming what is mine by right of strength. Tae-min touched his communication device. Ji-woo, send the recall signal to Seoul's Promise. Tell Captain Sung-ho to proceed with Protocol Prometheus. Sir, are you certain? Ji-woo's voice was tight with tension. They were warned. Send it. The Chromian officer's antennae twitched. What is Protocol Prometheus? Tae-min looked at the council, then at Crovath. It is what happens when someone pursues us into the dark. It is what we hoped we would never have to use again. He paused. It is why the rule exists. Crovath laughed again. I do not fear your protocols or your soft words. In 3 days, I will return with your colony ship in chains, and you will see that humans are no different from any other weak species. Then you will learn what the Catharn learned, the Penshari elder said quietly. You will learn why the warnings exist. You will learn why, of all the species that once ruled this galaxy, only the ones who heeded the rule still survive. Crovath turned and strode from the chamber, his forearms swinging confidently. Tae-min stood still, his hands clasped behind his back. Hana moved closer to him. Commander, if we activate Prometheus protocols, there will be consequences. The Council will see what we can do. I know, Tae-min said. But those colonists are our people, and the Kalthorans made their choice. He looked at the assembled species. We all make choices. The Catharn chose to pursue us. We chose to survive. Now the Kalthorans will choose to learn, or they will choose to join the Catharn in extinction. The council chamber remained silent as the human delegation left. Outside the station's windows, stars glittered peacefully in the void. But somewhere in that darkness, an ancient pattern was repeating itself. Someone had pursued the humans into the deep, and soon, the galaxy would remember why the rule existed. The Void Nebula looked like spilled ink against the stars. Clouds of dark matter swirled in patterns that confused sensors and made navigation dangerous. Most species avoided it. The Kalthoran fleet of 200 warships plunged into it without hesitation. Following the energy trail of the damaged human colony ship, War Marshal Crovath sat in his command throne aboard the flagship Crimson Fang, watching the pursuit on multiple displays. The Soul's Promise was limping ahead, leaving a clear trail of leaking plasma and radiation. Perfect prey. Distance to target? Crovath demanded. 17,000 units in closing, his scanner officer reported. The human ship is trying to repair its engines, but they are failing. We will catch them within 6 hours. Crovath's 4 arms gestured in satisfaction. This was too easy. The humans talked of ancient rules and mysterious protocols, but in the end, they ran like any other weak species. Soon he would have their colonists as slaves and their ship as a trophy. Aboard the Soul's Promise, Captain Sung-ho looked nothing like a desperate man. He was an older human with silver hair and steady hands, and right now, he was calmly drinking tea while his crew worked around him. Plasma leak is maintaining the correct visual signature, his engineer reported. The Kalthorans are following exactly as predicted. Quote, 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 good. How many civilian pods have we launched? All of them. Every colonist is away clean, drifting on silent trajectories toward the rendezvous point. The Kalthorans aren't even scanning for them. Sung-ho nodded. They are focused on the prize directly in front of them. A common mistake among hunters who have never been prey. Munning. He touched his communication panel. All crew to evacuation stations. We are switching from Colony Protocol to Prometheus Protocol. Anyone who wishes to leave may do so now. No judgment. No one left. The 50 crew members who remained were all volunteers. They knew what came next. 3,000 light-years away, Commander Tae-min stood on the bridge of his small military ship. Around him, 14 other human military vessels held position. His fleet looked tiny compared to the Kaltharan armada. Jiwoo studied her tactical displays with a frown. "Sir, I have confirmation. Every human vessel, within 3 sectors, is responding to the recall. Mining ships, cargo haulers, medical frigates, even the colony construction fleet. They are all moving toward the Void Nebula. How many total? 417 ships." Daehyun whistled from his pilot station. "That is a lot of civilians moving into a combat zone." "There are no civilians when Protocol Prometheus is active," Taemin said quietly. "There are only humans. And humans protect their own." Inside the nebula, the Kaltharan fleet continued its pursuit. But some of the officers were beginning to feel uneasy. The scanner operator kept reporting strange contacts that appeared and vanished. The navigation officer mentioned that they were passing through an old battlefield, though no debris could be seen. "War Marshal, I recommend caution," his second-in-command said. "This area shows signs of ancient combat. Very ancient. The energy signatures are wrong." "Superstitious fool," Crovath snapped. "Eyes on the prize ahead. Nothing else matters." But even he noticed something strange. They passed an old human station, drifting dead in space. It was not destroyed by weapons. It looked carefully taken apart, piece by piece, like something had studied it. Then they passed an asteroid field with blast scoring on the rocks. The scoring was not random. It formed patterns, symbols, warnings in languages no one could read. "War Marshal, the human ship has stopped," the scanner officer reported. "It is near a dead star system ahead." Finally, they surrender. "All ships, battle formation. Prepare to board," and, the officer interrupted, his voice rising in pitch. "Sir, multiple contacts. Dozens of ships decloaking around the colony vessel. On the displays, ships appeared from nowhere. But these were not military vessels. They were mining ships, with massive industrial equipment attached. Cargo haulers, with their large holds open. Medical frigates with red crosses painted on their hulls. A few small personal ships that looked like they belonged to families." Crovath stared, then began laughing. This is their defense? Civilians? In cargo ships? This will be a slaughter." He opened a channel to the human vessels. "Surrender now, or be destroyed. You cannot fight a military fleet with mining equipment." A human voice responded. It was young and cheerful. "This is Pilot Dae-hyun. You are absolutely right. War Marshal. We cannot fight you with mining equipment." There was a pause. "But we are not trying to fight you. We are just using our tools." "What nonsense are you?" A mining ship accelerated forward at impossible speed. Its industrial plasma cutter, designed to slice through asteroids, powered up. The beam that shot out was not a weapon. It was a tool. But when it hit the shields of the nearest Kaltharan warship, those shields did not just fail. They evaporated. The plasma cutter, meant to separate ore from rock at the molecular level, carved through the warship's hull like it was paper. The ship broke into pieces, its atmosphere venting into space. "All ships, return fire!" Crovath screamed. The Kaltharan fleet opened up with every weapon they had. Energy bolts and missiles filled the space between the two groups. But the human ships did not fight like a military formation. They scattered like startled birds, each ship moving independently. A cargo hauler revealed hidden compartments. Railguns emerged, weapons designed to fire ore containers across solar systems for collection. But ore containers and missiles followed the same physics. The railguns fired, and Kalthoran ships exploded under the impact of projectiles moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Medical frigates released clouds of something into space. The Kalthorans thought it was a defensive screen until their sensors showed the truth. Nanites, billions of microscopic machines designed to repair human tissue. But they worked just as well on metal. Caltheron ships that passed through the clouds began to corrode, their hulls dissolving as the nanites mistook the metal for damaged tissue needing removal. Engineer Hana, commanding a construction ship, directed her crew with calm efficiency. Target their sensor arrays with the welding drones. Blind them first. Blind them first. Small drones, meant for assembling space stations, swarmed over Caltheron vessels. Their welding torches, designed to bond metal, burned through sensor equipment and communication arrays. Ships began losing contact with each other, firing blindly. Crovath watched in growing horror as his fleet fell apart. These were not warships, they were tools. But in human hands, everything became a weapon. Retreat. All ships retreat. But the human vessels had surrounded them, and the nebula's dark clouds made navigation difficult. Caltheron ships collided with each other in their panic. More human vessels appeared. These ones genuine military ships. Small but deadly, picking off targets with precision. Captain Sung Ho, still aboard the Soul's Promise, sipped his tea and watched the battle. They came into our environment, he said to his crew. They thought space was neutral territory. They forgot that humans adapt. We have been adapting for 200,000 years. Space is just our newest home. The Soul's Promise, no longer pretending to be damaged, began moving. Its leaking plasma was actually a weapon system, and the ship that Crovath had thought was prey revealed itself to be another predator. In the Crimson Fang, alarms blared from every console. Half the fleet was gone. The rest were scattered and panicking, and the humans were still coming, their civilian ships moving through the chaos like sharks through bloody water. Crovath sent a desperate message to the Galactic Council, requesting immediate intervention. The humans are destroying us. We surrender. The response came from the Penshari Elder, its voice sad. We warned you, War Marshal. You chose to pursue them into the dark. Now you are learning what that means. Now you are in their world, and they are showing you what humans become when you threaten their families. Crovath looked at his displays, at the human ships made from mining equipment and medical supplies and cargo haulers, and he finally understood. Humans did not build civilian ships and military ships. They built tools, and any tool could be used to build or destroy, depending on need. He had pursued prey into the dark, but he was no longer the hunter. He was the hunted. And he was beginning to understand why the rule existed. The Caltheron fleet was broken. What had been 200 proud warships was now fewer than 80 vessels scattered throughout the Void Nebula, trying desperately to regroup. War Marshal Crovath had learned a terrible lesson. Winning the first battle meant nothing when your enemy controlled the battlefield. He stood in the damaged command center of the Crimson Fang, nursing wounds from an explosion that had killed half his bridge crew. His forearms trembled, though whether from injury or fear, he refused to admit. Status report, he demanded, his voice hoarse. Communication with 73 ships confirmed, his surviving officer reported. But sensors are compromised. The nebula is interfering, and the humans are doing something to make it worse. We cannot see more than a few thousand units in any direction. Where are the humans? Everywhere, sir. And nowhere. They appear, strike, and vanish. We have lost 16 more ships in the past hour to attacks we never saw coming. Crovath slammed a fist against his throne. This was impossible. He commanded a military fleet with trained soldiers and purpose-built warships. The humans had civilians in cargo ships, yet somehow they were losing. In the dark spaces between the Caltheron vessels, Lieutenant Bo-Ra led her team through the void in nothing but environment suits. 5 humans, carrying tools and weapons, floating silently through space like ghosts. Target vessel ahead, she whispered into her helmet communicator. Looks like a destroyer class. Shields are focused forward, expecting attack from that direction. Then we come from behind, replied Minsu, her explosives expert. Same as always. They drifted closer, using small thruster bursts to adjust trajectory. The Caltheron ship loomed before them, its metal hull scarred from previous battles. They attached to the surface like insects, magnetic boots locking them in place. Haywan, their engineer, pulled out a device that looked like an oversized tablet. She placed it against the hull and activated it. The device began cutting through the metal with a beam narrower than a hair, making no sound in the vacuum of space. 30 seconds, she reported. Inside the Caltheron destroyer, the crew had no idea death was cutting through their hull. They were focused on their sensors, trying to spot the next human attack. They expected missiles or energy weapons, things they could see and defend against. The hull section fell inward, and Bora's team entered the ship like water through a crack. They found themselves in a maintenance corridor, gravity pulling them down as air rushed past them into the void. Emergency doors sealed automatically, trapping the escaping atmosphere. "Move fast," Bora ordered. "Plant charges on the reactor control junction." Then, out. They ran through the corridors, their suits marking them as hostile to any Caltheron they encountered. But they did not stop to fight. They moved like smoke, turning corners before guards could react, using their knowledge of ship design against the crew. The Calthorans had built their ships for war. Humans had studied those ships and learned to turn them into traps. Minsu placed his charges on the critical junction points, while the others stood guard. 30 seconds to detonation, he said. Time to leave. 2 for Min. They ran back toward their entry point. Alarms were blaring now. The Calthorans knew intruders were aboard. Guards converged on their position, but the humans did not fight them. Bora threw a device down the corridor behind them, and smoke filled the passage, not weapon smoke. This was a chemical mix that would bond with the aliens' respiratory systems, making them cough and choke without causing permanent harm. They reached their hull breach just as the charges detonated. The reactor did not explode. That would have killed everyone instantly. Instead, the control systems failed, and the ship's power began cascading through safety protocols. In 10 minutes, the vessel would be dead in space, helpless but intact. Bora's team kicked off from the hull, drifting back into the void as the disabled destroyer faded into the nebula behind them. "Target neutralized," Bora reported. "No Caltheran casualties." Aboard the Crimson Fang, Crovath received the report that another destroyer had gone dark. No weapons fire detected. No missiles. The ship had simply stopped responding. "How?" he roared. "How are they doing this?" His officer looked terrified. "Sir, we believe they are boarding our vessels. Small teams in environment suits. They move through space itself, attack from directions we cannot defend, and disable ships without destroying them. Then increase internal security. Set guards at every airlock. We have, War Marshal. It does not help. They cut through our hulls. They know our ship designs better than we do. They strike and vanish before we can respond." Crovath felt something he had not experienced in decades. Genuine fear. The humans were not fighting a battle. They were hunting. And his soldiers, trained for honorable combat, had no defense against an enemy who turned everything into a weapon and everywhere into a battlefield. Commander Taemin watched the tactical display aboard his military vessel. Small dots represented human teams moving through the nebula. Every few minutes, another Caltheron ship went dark. "They are adapting faster than predicted," Jiwoo noted. "The Caltherons are starting to move in tighter formations, protecting each other," Jiwoo noted. 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 "Then we adapt faster," Taemin replied. The Soul's Promise, now fully operational, moved through the debris field that had accumulated from the battle. Destroyed ship parts floated everywhere, both human and Caltheron. Most species would avoid such areas as too dangerous for navigation. Humans had different ideas. Engineer Hana, working from a control ship nearby, directed dozens of salvage drones. These small robots, designed to collect and recycle space debris, began gathering pieces of destroyed vessels, but they were not just cleaning up. They were building. In 30 minutes, the drones had constructed barriers and false targets from the debris, energy signatures that looked like human ships but were actually just metal and old power cells. The nebula became a maze of false readings and hidden obstacles. When a group of Kalthoron ships tried to push through toward what they thought was a weak point in the human formation, they found themselves trapped in a debris field that had not existed an hour before. Human ships appeared from behind the false walls, attacked, and vanished again. A captured Kalthoran officer, taken from one of the disabled ships, was brought before Ji-woo. He looked at her with confusion and anger. "Why do you fight this way?" he demanded. "This is not honorable combat. You use tricks and deception. You turn tools into weapons. You hide instead of facing us directly." Ji-woo studied him calmly. "You see our cities and think we are civilized. You see our merchants and think we are peaceful. You see our diplomats and think we are weak. But do you know what we are really?" The Kalthoran said nothing. "We are persistence predators from a death world," Ji-woo continued. "On our planet, our ancestors hunted prey, not by being faster or stronger, but by never stopping. We chased animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. We survived ice ages by adapting. We survived plagues by changing. We survived each other through 10,000 years of warfare. Every environment became our environment. Every challenge became a lesson." She leaned forward. "You came into space with your warships and your warrior culture, and you thought that made you strong. But humans have been warriors for 200,000 years. We have fought in jungles and deserts, in oceans and mountains, in frozen wastelands and burning plains. We learned to use everything as a weapon, because on our world, everything tried to kill us." The Kalthoran's forearms hung limply. "What are you saying?" "Ibsi. What are you saying?" "Ibsi. I am saying that space is just another environment, and humans are very, very good at adapting to new environments. You thought you were chasing prey into a nebula, but you brought your military thinking into our natural habitat. Now you are learning what we learned thousands of years ago. The deadliest predator is not the strongest. It is the one that never stops coming." The Kalthoran looked at her with something approaching understanding. "The rule. Do not pursue them into the dark. It was not about your ships or your weapons." "No," Ji-woo agreed. "It was about what happens when you chase humans away from civilization, away from laws and rules and peace. It was about what we become when you threaten our families and force us to remember how we survived for so long on a world that wanted us dead." She stood up. "You will not be harmed. When this is over, you will be returned to your people. But you will tell them what you learned here. You will tell them why the rule exists." As the Kalthoran was led away, Ji-woo returned to her station. On the displays, more Kalthoran ships went dark. The hunter had become the hunted, and the lesson was not yet finished. The Crimson Fang drifted through a region of the nebula that seemed darker than the rest. War Marshal Krovath had ordered his remaining 40 ships to follow him here, hoping to find a defensive position where they could regroup. His fleet was broken. His pride was shattered, and he was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. "Sensors detect massive debris ahead," his scanner officer reported. "Very old. Different composition than our ships or human vessels. Can we hide there? Possibly. The metal density might mask our signatures from human sensors." Krovath ordered his ships forward. As they entered the debris field, he realized this was not the remains of a recent battle. The wreckage was ancient, covered in cosmic dust and radiation scoring that spoke of centuries, perhaps thousands of years, exposed to space. His ships moved carefully through massive pieces of hull plating, past engine sections larger than his flagship, around weapon emplacements that dwarfed anything the Kalthorans had ever built. Whatever civilization had built these vessels, had possessed technology far beyond current galactic standards. War Marshal, our scientist officer, requests permission to scan one of the larger wreck pieces. Granted. We need every advantage. An hour later, the scientist officer appeared on Crovath's command screen. She looked shaken. War Marshal, I have identified the wreckage. The symbols and alloy composition match historical records. This debris belongs to the Catharn Dominion. Crovath felt his blood go cold. The Catharn, the ancient empire the Penchari Elder had mentioned, the civilization that had supposedly been destroyed by humans thousands of years ago. The Catharn controlled half the galaxy, the scientist continued. They had technology we still do not understand. Energy weapons that could crack planets. Shields that could withstand stellar radiation. Fleets of thousands of vessels, each more powerful than anything we currently possess. And the humans destroyed them? According to the legends, yes. But War Marshal, I have found something else. Several of the larger wreck sections contain intact data storage systems. Very degraded, but some files are still readable. Permission to access them? Do it. 2 hours passed. Crovath waited in his command center, surrounded by the ghosts of an empire that once ruled the stars. His officers were silent, all of them aware of the terrible irony. They had fled human pursuit into the graveyard of the last species that had pursued humans. Finally, the scientist officer returned. Her 4 arms trembled. War Marshal, I have accessed the Catharn logs. You need to see this. The main display activated. Text appeared, translated from ancient Catharn language. A captain's log from 12,000 years ago. Cycle 47. Day 12. We have encountered a primitive species fleeing their homeworld in crude generation ships. They call themselves humans. Initial scans show weak bodies, no natural armor, limited strength. They will make excellent slaves for the mining colonies. We have begun pursuit. The entry was routine, unremarkable. The kind of report any conqueror might make when finding easy prey. Cycle 47. Day 89. The humans continue to flee. They are clever, using the asteroid fields to hide. We have captured 3 of their ships. The prisoners are unusually resistant to standard interrogation methods. They refuse to reveal the location of their other vessels. No matter. We will find them all eventually. More entries scrolled past. Months became years. The tone began to change. Cycle 48. Day 201. The humans have learned to modify our captured weapons. How is this possible? They have no technology of their own, yet they reverse-engineered our plasma cannons in less than a year. They attacked one of our supply convoys today, using our own weapons against us. This is concerning but not alarming. We still outnumber them greatly. Crovath read faster, watching the story unfold across centuries. Cycle 52. Day 67. The humans refuse to surrender. We have destroyed 17 of their ships, yet more appear. Where are they getting resources? How are they building vessels? Our intelligence suggests they are using debris from battles to construct new ships. They are breeding warriors, raising children who know only combat. This is disturbing behavior. Cycle 55. Day 134. Major defeat at the Omega Sector. The humans sacrificed 3 of their ships in a suicidal attack that destroyed 15 of ours. The survivors say the human commander sent a message before impact. This is for our children you enslaved. They do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for revenge. How do we negotiate with an enemy who wants nothing but our extinction? Cycle 63. Day 12. The Dominion Council has ordered full mobilization. Half our territory is under human attack. They appear everywhere, strike without warning, and vanish before reinforcements arrive. They do not hold territory. They do not establish bases. They simply destroy and move on. Our citizens are terrified. They call the humans the Endless Hunters. Crovath's hands shook as he read. The Catharn had been the greatest empire in galactic history, and they had been ground down over centuries by scattered human fleets. Cycle 87. Day 221. Our homeworld is under siege. The humans brought their entire fleet. We offered surrender. We offered reparations. We offered to return all slaves and leave them in peace. They refused. Their commander said, "You made your choice when you pursued us into the dark. Now you face the consequences." The final entry made Crovath's forearms go numb. Cycle 89, Day 67. This is the last Catharn vessel. We are the last of our kind. The humans have systematically destroyed every world, every station, every ship of our civilization. They did not stop when we surrendered. They did not stop when we begged. They stopped only when we went extinct. This log is set to broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages we know. If anyone finds this, heed our warning. Do not pursue the Earthlings. They are not prey. They are the most terrifying predators this galaxy has ever known. We learned too late that their peaceful nature is a choice, not a weakness. And when you force them to abandon that choice, they become something that cannot be stopped. Do not pursue the Earthlings into the dark. There is only death there. The display went dark. Crovath sat in silence. Around him, his officers looked at each other with fear in their eyes. War Marshal, his second-in-command, said quietly, "The humans we have been fighting, the ones with the mining ships and cargo haulers, those are their civilians, their peacetime versions. These logs describe what they become when fully committed to war. And we attacked their colony ship," Crovath whispered. "We pursued them into the dark." A communication alert sounded. The face of Commander Taemin appeared on the screen. The human looked tired, but determined. "War Marshal Crovath, we know you have found the Catharn logs. We did not lead you there by accident. We wanted you to understand." "Understand what?" Crovath's voice was hollow. "That the humans who destroyed the Catharn are our ancestors. That capability still exists within us. We choose not to use it. We choose peace, diplomacy, and civilization. But when you attacked our colony ship, when you pursued our civilians into the nebula, you made us remember what we are capable of. You made us use the old ways." Taemin paused. "The Catharn made the same mistake you did. They saw us as weak because we valued peace. They thought our kindness was a flaw. But peace is not weakness. It is a choice, and we can choose differently when necessary." Crovath looked at the wreckage surrounding his ship. An entire galactic empire, reduced to floating debris. "What do you want from us?" "Surrender. Unconditional. Your ships will be escorted to neutral space. Your government will pay reparations to the colony ship survivors. And you will help us update the warnings throughout the galaxy. The rule must be remembered. And if we refuse?" Taemin's expression did not change, but something in his eyes made Crovath think of the endless void between stars. "Then, you join the Catharn. Your choice." Crovath looked at his remaining ships on the tactical display. 40 vessels from 200. His crew exhausted and terrified. His pride destroyed along with his fleet. And surrounding them, both literally and metaphorically, the ghosts of an empire that had learned the same lesson too late. He thought about the colony ship they had attacked, families fleeing to a new world, carrying children and hope for the future. And his raiders had fired on them without warning, without mercy, thinking them easy prey. The humans had every right to destroy the Calthoran fleet completely. But they had disabled ships instead of destroying them. Captured instead of killed. They had shown restraint even in combat. They had chosen to be better than their ancestors, even while using their ancestors' tactics. The Catharn had not received such mercy. The Catharn had pursued prey and found predators. They had pushed humans until humans remembered what they had once been, and the Catharn had died for it. Crovath straightened in his command throne. He had been a warrior all his life. He understood defeat when it stared him in the face. "We surrender," he said, unconditionally. The Galactic Council chamber was full again, but the atmosphere had changed. 3 weeks had passed since the battle in the Void Nebula. Every species present had reviewed the records of what happened. Some were horrified. Some were fascinated. All were much more respectful. Commander Taemin stood at the podium once more, but this time War Marshal Crovath stood beside him. The Kalthoran looked different now. His 4 arms hung with less arrogance. His eyes held a weight that had not been there before. The Penshari Elder floated forward, its colors shifting through somber purples. "The Council has reviewed all evidence regarding the incident in the Void Nebula. War Marshal Crovath, your unauthorized attack on a civilian vessel violated multiple treaties. Your pursuit into contested space after being warned demonstrated dangerous recklessness. What do you have to say?" Crovath's voice was quiet, lacking its former harsh edge. "I have no defense. I was arrogant. I believed strength meant military power alone. I did not understand the warnings given to me. I did not respect the humans or the ancient rule. My ignorance cost 163 Kalthoran ships and over 40,000 lives." He paused, then continued. "But the humans could have destroyed us completely. They had the ability. They showed us the wreckage of the Catharn Dominion, an empire far greater than mine, completely destroyed by human fleets. Yet, when I surrendered, the humans stopped fighting immediately. They provided medical aid to my wounded. They helped repair our damaged ships. They treated us with honor that we had not shown them." The Chromian representative clicked its mandibles. "Commander Taemin, perhaps you can explain. The Catharn logs show that your ancestors pursued that empire to extinction. Why did you spare the Kalthorans?" Taemin looked thoughtful. "Because we learned. The Catharn destruction happened 12,000 years ago. Our ancestors fought that war for 3 centuries. They won completely. But when it was over, when every Catharn was dead, and their empire was ruins, do you know what happened?" The chamber was silent. Our ancestors looked at what they had done and were horrified. They had become so focused on survival, on revenge, on winning, that they had turned into the very thing they were fighting against. They had become destroyers. And that realization changed us. He gestured to the displays showing the battle footage. "We made a choice then. We decided we would never again pursue victory to the point of extinction. We would be strong enough to defend ourselves. Yes, we would use every tool and tactic available, but we would also know when to stop. We would choose to be builders instead of destroyers whenever possible." Jiwoo stepped forward to stand beside her commander. "The capability remains within us. The tactics, the ruthlessness, the ability to adapt any tool into a weapon. These things are part of human nature, shaped by 200,000 years of survival on a world that tried to kill us constantly. But so is the ability to choose mercy, the ability to learn from our mistakes, the ability to be better than our worst moments." A younger species representative, the Kolari, raised a tentacle hesitantly. "But if you have such capability for destruction, how can we trust you? How do we know you will not turn those abilities against us?" Taemin smiled sadly. "You cannot know for certain, just as we cannot know for certain that other species will not attack us. Trust is always a risk. But I can tell you this. Humans have been part of the galactic community for 50 years. In that time, we have never started a war. We have defended ourselves when attacked, yes, but we have also helped dozens of species with disaster relief, shared our medical knowledge freely, and traded fairly with everyone." He looked at Crovath. "Even now, after the Kalthorans attacked our civilians, we are offering aid to help rebuild their damaged fleet. Not because we are weak, not because we fear them, but because we choose to be better than our worst capabilities." Crovath nodded slowly. "The humans taught me something important. True strength is not about having the power to destroy. It is about having that power and choosing not to use it unless absolutely necessary. The Catharn had powerful weapons and strong ships, but they were not truly strong. They could not stop fighting, even when they should have surrendered. The humans are strong because they know when to fight and when to show mercy. The Penshari elders' colors shifted to a warm gold. The council has made its decision. The human petition for full membership is approved unanimously. Furthermore, the Kaltharon Empire will become a protectorate under joint council supervision. War Marshal Crovath, you will work directly with human advisors to restructure your military doctrine. Perhaps in learning from the humans, your people can find a better path. Crovath bowed his head. I accept these terms. My people need to learn what I learned in that nebula. We need to understand that the universe is bigger and more complex than we imagined. After the council session ended, Crovath found Tae Min in an observation lounge, looking out at the stars. The human was alone, which was unusual for someone who had just achieved a major diplomatic victory. May I join you? Crovath asked. Of course. They stood in silence for a moment. Finally, Crovath spoke. I have a question that has troubled me since I surrendered. When you showed me the Cawthorn logs, when you demonstrated what humans are capable of, you could have demanded anything. You could have enslaved my entire species as punishment. Why did you choose mercy? Gode. Tae Min was quiet for a long time. Because that is not who we choose to be. Yes, we destroyed the Catharn. But that destruction haunts us still. There is a memorial on Earth with billions of names, all the humans who died in that 3-century war. Next to it is another memorial with the names of every Catharn who died. We remember them too. We remember that they were people with families and hopes, just like us. We remember that we killed an entire species because they made the mistake of attacking us. He turned to face Crovath. That weight, that guilt, has shaped human culture for 12,000 years. We never want to carry that burden again, so we choose to be strong enough to defend ourselves but wise enough to show mercy when we can. The Catharn taught us how to survive, but the aftermath taught us how to live. Crovath's 4 arms gestured in understanding, a Kaltharon sign of deep respect. Then I will help my people learn the same lesson. We will remember what happened in the Void Nebula. We will honor the 40,000 who died because of my arrogance. And we will help spread the warning, so others do not make the same mistake. The rule, Tae Min said. Do not pursue the Earthlings. Yes. But now I understand it is not just a warning about human military capability. It is a warning about what happens when you force a peaceful people to remember how to be dangerous. It is a reminder that kindness is not weakness, and that the deadliest predator is the one who chooses not to hunt. They shook hands, human and Kaltharon, former enemies beginning to build something like friendship. 2 months later, on the colony world that the Soul's Promise had been trying to reach, families were building their new home. Children played in alien soil under a different sun. The colony was named New Hope, and it was thriving. Pilot Dae-hyun visited there on leave. He walked through the settlement, seeing homes and schools and farms. The people here knew what had happened. They knew that hundreds of humans had fought to protect them, that civilians in mining ships and cargo haulers had risked everything to save families they had never met. There was a memorial in the center of the colony. It listed the 17 humans who had died in the battle. Not many, considering the scale of the conflict, but each name represented someone who had chosen to fight when they could have fled, someone who had remembered what humans could be when their families were threatened. Dae-hyun placed a flower at the memorial, a tradition as old as human civilization. Then he looked up at the sky, where new warning beacons had been placed throughout the sector. The beacons transmitted a message in every known language. This region borders human space. The inhabitants are peaceful and prefer diplomatic solutions to conflicts. They will trade fairly and help those in need. But if you threaten their families, if you attack their innocent, if you pursue them into the dark spaces between the stars, You will learn why the ancient warnings exist. You will learn why the Cawthorn Dominion is extinct. You will learn why the oldest rule in the galaxy is, do not pursue the Earthlings. They are kind by choice, not by weakness. Remember this, and we will be friends. Forget this, and you will learn why we are the galaxy's survivors. Below the warning was a new addition, suggested by Krovoth himself. The Kal Thoron Empire learned this lesson. We paid for our wisdom with 40,000 lives. Learn from our mistake. Respect the rule. Daehyun smiled. The galaxy was learning. Some lessons came from observation. Some came from painful experience. But eventually, the message would spread. Humanity was not to be trifled with. Not because humans were cruel, but because they were capable of incredible things when protecting what they loved. And that capability, held in check by choice and wisdom, was the most powerful defense any species could have. Behind him, children laughed and played. Above him, stars glittered peacefully. Around him, a new world was being born. And throughout the galaxy, species were updating their databases with a simple entry. Humans. Approach with respect. Treat with dignity. Never, ever, pursue into the dark. The oldest rule in the galaxy had been tested once again. And once again, those who violated it had learned why the rule existed. But this time, they had survived to share the lesson. And that, Taemin thought as he watched from orbit, was progress. The humans had chosen mercy. They had chosen to be better than their worst capabilities. They had chosen to build instead of destroy. And in making that choice, they had proven they deserved their place among the stars. Not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as guardians who remembered their past and chose a better future.